for justice. Grit and hope has always been for peace. Grit and foes have known that they could trust us to do our best to make the cannon cease. Grit and blood will never stand for insult. Grit and song will rally at her call.
Just before this podcast starts, I'm just giving you a bit of context. Nothing's off the table in this podcast. It's all about Verdun, everything between glitches and updates and what we like and what we dislike. Joining me today is History Lad, also known as George, and that's the other voice you'll be hearing in this video. Thanks for watching. So, George, when do you start playing Verdun?
I think I started playing it a month or so after it came out on PS4.
It was quite early. It was around Battlefield 1 time, wasn't it? I seem to remember.
Yeah, which was... They didn't really think about that.
No.
It wasn't ideal because obviously having two World War One or games based on World War One coming out in the same month, a few weeks apart, everyone's going to go for the one which everyone knows the best, which is Battlefields, because of the big companies and ones who did Verdun. Yeah.
Well, people, it's one of them things where consoles are a huge platform, but people, casual gamers, will see the logo, the EA badge, and the classic Battlefield name over the Verdun name. Yeah. Even if I think, or you might think that Verdun's the better game, which that's what it is. It's better in some ways. It's the more realistic game. I enjoy it a lot more than I think I would Battlefield 1. But obviously, with Battlefield 1 being the big game that it is, the franchise that it is, it was always going to be more popular. And but still, I mean, even still, there was still quite a lot of players on at the start, wasn't there? If you remember, I think anyway. I still remember there being, huge. Well, there were never big lobbies though. There were never big lobbies. There was at least, I seem to remember like 400 odd players in, because I remember there was a few of us who were playing the game, and you could play co-op, and because it was the time where there was so many different lobbies that you could join into squads, and then your squads could go into different games. There's so many different games to choose from. Sort of making it better for team games as well. What do you think of the game now in its current state anyway?
I think even though they are putting updates into it, I think they've still got a long way to go before it's more popular and you start getting more players, because now it's hard to find a full game server.
Definitely.
So you can't have as much fun as you did at the start, because you also got to realise that Verdun wasn't originally a console game. It was out on the PC originally. Yeah. And obviously on the PC, you can have more people on there because it's a PC game. It's more popular. And when they brought it over to console, it didn't really have that much
advertisement. Yeah.
So they had a few trailers on the Sony website and their channel, but it wasn't really enough to get people engaged into it, because like I said before, it's not a big company. And, they didn't really advertise it that well, sort of the console, as they did PC.
Absolutely. So what we're saying is advertising's like one of the main issues to why it is what it is now then, I suppose. Yeah. That's fair enough. I think advertising's massive. Again, it was never going to compete with Battlefield, but it's irrelevant. They still should have had some sort of larger advertising than they did. I think they got the PlayStation YouTube channel. I think they got them to do like a trailer thing, which PlayStation advertises all the smaller games, and that might have got Verdun out there a bit, but how we obviously didn't get out there enough, but I think I agree with you there. Advertising is definitely another thing. Is there any more things you'd say that annoy you about the game, or why it is in the state it's in now? Any other attributes to that?
Well, I mean, if you look at the comparison between the PC version and the console version, you can see that PC is far more superior than the console, because You know, it's got more active players. It's got more advertisement. Even graphically, it looks better. I think.
They sort of left the console version, didn't they? They just
they left it as the vanilla, but with PC, it looks unrealistic. It's unbelievable.
It's a frustrating one because I've said this before on the channel that if they update it at the same time with the PC updates, then maybe the game, even if it didn't have this big user base, then it would still have at least the regulars on, and I mean like maybe a couple of hundred people on each night or each day. You'd still have at least a smooth flow of gamers coming on to play Verdun. But now what they're left with is 20 a lobby of 20 people every couple of nights, and it's not great. It's disappointing really, but in a way I can see why they can't do that. I suppose things which they might change on PC may be completely different of how they have to change it for PlayStation or Xbox. So I think that's understandable. The graphics, I can't understand why they didn't update that sooner. That's one thing I can't understand, because if anything, if this game looked good, I just feel like it'd make the game 10 times better. I don't know about you. I think graphics for a game like this, definitely.
I mean, a lot of things which brings people to games is, I'd say, 90% story, 10% graphics. Because if you think about it, everyone wants a game with good graphics. No one wants a good game with crappy graphics.
Yeah.
So if the game visually looks good, it will, chances are it will be good, because you can see that the devs have put time and effort into making it look good.
Yeah.
And with Verdun, don't get me wrong, the console version it looks good, and it suits it, but it looks nothing like its PC, counterpart.
Yeah, it's nothing like what it could be.
Oh, no,
definitely. No. Yeah. I mean, it's probably one of the more frustrating things. I think a lot of people who play Verdun are interested in the war genre of game. They like first-person shooters or tactical shooters. They just like shooters in general, maybe. Shooters, especially multiplayer ones like this one. This game doesn't have a storyline. I think a lot of us, the visuals are such a large thing, because I think with war games you need to be able to visualise what you see, visualise how it would feel, immersion.
Yeah. And
this game has immersion to some extent with the sort of gore that they have on the game. When you blow people's fucking brains out and shit. That creates immersion, but with enhanced graphics, then you really do feel like you're there. And then all you need backing that up is the fucking sounds and stuff, which the PC has, but they just haven't brought that over to PS4. And it is frustrating, but it is what it is. I mean, any other things other than the graphics, I suppose, and advertising?
I mean, I would say for the console, I'd also say the communities, because me and you, we're a part of a fair bit of communities for Verdun, to try and re-get it to where it once was at launch.
Yeah.
But I mean, recently, three months ago now, me and you, we were inside that reenactment for the Battle of Passchendaele.
Oh yeah, we were.
Verdun, and that was good, but it wasn't. I can't find the words. It wasn't really as good as it should have been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the amount of time it took to get people on, then people said they would be there who weren't there, sort of ruined the whole thing.
Yeah. So a bit of I'll give anyone who's watching a bit of context here. What we mean is, a couple of weeks back we had an event on Verdun where we got a band of people together via the World War One Verdun events page on PlayStation 4, and there were just people who were interested in reenacting a historical battle. So we did Passchendaele, and the problem is a lot of people didn't show up. A lot of people did, and it was still good for what it was, but it could have been better. And I think what we're trying to get at here is that with a console game, the player basis and communities are completely different to PC. I think you get a lot more mature players on PC and people who, I don't know, are a bit more serious about gaming sometimes. I mean, we're serious and we can have fun at the same time, but if you want to do a historical battle and reenact it, you want it to be more serious, don't you? You want it to be down to the point. And I'll got to give a lot of credit to some of the people in there, like the guys who arranged it. Were fantastic and did a great job, because it really is hard to do. But I think maybe that's why, again, is that your point though, George? Is that are you saying sometimes the community doesn't help the game either?
Yeah, because like I said, if you're able to find dedicated people, like we found that Max, who that was the name of the guy who organised it. He was brilliant. He knew his history. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to organise it, and he did organise it well.
Yeah,
but it was just relying on the other console players, because there's a huge difference between the communities on PC, console. With PC, you're more dedicated to it.
Yeah.
With console, it's more like, I said I'll show up, but I won't.
Yeah. I know you're not saying not everyone's like that either on console. There is obviously, but the proportion of people who are like that on console is tiny and they're fucking hard to find compared to on PC. It's quite a big thing. But again, it's just because I suppose consoles are more easily accessible to people. But I suppose that's one thing we can't really help. I think that's just, it is what it is, and that's not obviously the devs can't really do anything about that, but only the players can sort the community problem out. But we can't forget, I mean, on Verdun there is still a really good community as well. I mean, you can go on Verdun and each night you'll see some of the same guys you saw as the night and the night before that, which is great to see. And what that should prove to the devs is that there's still dedicated players on there. And I think it's important to say as well that, like, having a new update, I think would bring an influx of players again, but they need to fucking advertise it. It's alright having a new update, but it needs to be advertised more than the original game was, because now there's a gap which they could fill right now in sort of the military genre for gaming on console. Verdun can fill the gap in till Insurgency comes out, and with this new update, if they do it properly. But yeah, I mean, if they will or not, I don't know. But is it? How do you reckon it can be improved? The game in general. I mean, I've asked what annoys you. What is there specific things you think? How would you improve it for you personally? Actually, how would you improve it?
For me, it'll be simple things like you don't need no huge updates which take hours to download. Just simply not redo it, but remake it in a way. So the graphics.
Is that not a huge update though? Would that not take a long time?
Well, no, because if you think about it, they could easily do it because they've already done it for PC. They just need to transfer what they've done there onto here. So they've already done it. And to improve it for me, like the graphics and the sounds, they're fine for me because like you said, if you get hit by a mortar, then limbs go everywhere. There's blood everywhere.
It creates the immersion feeling.
Yeah, you can hear the whistle of the mortar coming down. You can hear the gunshots. When they're near you, you get suppressed. Your vision goes blurry. You're just in a state of panic. That's brilliant. But graphic-wise, and simple other things like also whenever you're inside a trench and you try and get past, but you can't get past because you got someone who's just went AFK. Yeah. And you're stuck there and you can't move because if you go up out of the trench you're going to get shot. Yeah, like little
glitches and shit. Yeah,
but if you stay in that same position, someone's going to throw a grenade or you're going to get hit by a mortar, and then that sort of ruined the whole thing because someone just decided to go AFK.
Right, yeah. Well, I not so long back actually made a video on why it was called Why the Players Leaving, and one of my points towards the end was that what you just said there, just little glitches, annoying glitches like that. It's little things like that which really piss players off, and because there's so many of them in Verdun, there's so many little things which just niggle at you and you can't, and sometimes stop you from playing properly, that you just end up leaving the game. I mean, when I left the game for at least a year at one point, because of well, this wasn't even a little glitch. This was a big glitch. It was called the timeout glitch, and basically it stopped me from playing online. And I'd you go on the home menu and you press play online, and then it would try and connect you, and it'd say, authorized request connection timeout. And I think to myself, how many fucking players has that stopped? Because that to fix that glitch wasn't. It was only by chance I came across fixing that glitch, and it's on my YouTube channel if that's affecting you and if that's from stopping you playing the game. But it makes me think though, George. I mean, I wonder how many players were stopped playing the game just because of that specific glitch alone. And I remember after that happening, obviously as I said before, I stopped playing the game for a year, and I emailed one of the developers studios. I don't know if it's MH2 or something like that, and I never got a reply. I wasn't expecting much, but I didn't even get a fucking reply and it was like a major glitch that wouldn't allow me to get on the game, but I got past it in the end. But as you say, glitches, they really piss me off.
And also the night maps, if you think about it, one of my most hated maps.
Oh god, yeah.
And the name of it.
Is it I don't know how to pronounce it. Champagne. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Yeah, something like that.
It's easier.
Yeah.
But I hate that map purely because you can't see where you're going. You can't see there's friendly or enemy from you. So you use shoot, which will give away your position to if there is an enemy nearby.
Yeah.
But then that way you die. So
Definitely.
they really need to improve that map and they need to brighten it up.
Yeah, I think other than that map, I think maps are one of the better things on the game. I think the map design's really quite good, and I think it's one thing they really went for when making the game, and you can sort of see that. But that map specifically is awful. Yeah, it is. It's far too dark, and especially when people are calling in gas, so you have to wear a gas mask as well. And fucking hell, yeah, it ends up being a complete bayonet fight in the end sometimes. But I mean, it is what it is, and yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the that map isn't good. That is one thing that really does piss me off. Anything else in particular?
No, I don't think I've said anything.
Fair enough. So we think it can be improved by small updates, I suppose.
Yeah.
Small updates, you think? And but it comes back to what I was saying before. I mean, how easy is it to do them small updates? I mean, how can the developers? Well, obviously something's stopping them, either laziness or something else is stopping them from updating it, unless they just want to get out all the content on PC before they move to us. I just really don't know. It's a strange one. Alright, so we're going to go into more of the features of the game itself anyway. I mean, we've talked about the external things, we've talked about what we dislike. We're going to go into things more that we like and dislike about the features itself. So, what do you think of the weapons on the game?
The weapons, I think they're good. I'm just not going to say it. They're good because one thing I will give the devs for doing is, like we've already previously said with the maps and that, they have went into great detail. Like even when you start the game and you're loading into a map, whatever map you're in, just below it, they've got the actual history of the battle.
That's a great thing, actually.
They've also got the battle plans and the overview of the actual map.
Yeah.
And so when you're loading in, it gives you time to read it and you get to learn about the map which you're in.
Yeah, it's great,
which
actually.
Then goes on to the guns. The guns are also very historically accurate. You've got all the guns for the Germans, Belgians, French,
Canadians, got them all, haven't you?
Canadians, yeah. They're all, even the uniforms. If you look to the uniforms on the other players, they're all like accurate to what that regiment is.
Yeah.
And I think personally that's brilliant. And I'm happy that they've done that.
Yeah, I've seen to learn a bit about that actually. Doing them top Verdun faction videos on my channel. I'm reading into it's the same when you go on to when you look at each regiment, just like the maps underneath, it tells you a bit about the regiment. So the most recent one I did was the Strop-Up, I think they're called, or the Stearman Regiment, and they're the elite light infantry unit, and they were used for just attacking, and they had combat shovels and bayonets, grenades, and I don't know. I think that's a good thing about the game. And again, a lot of people who play Verdun, I think they're interested in history, aren't they? They must be. I mean, it's one of these games which is it's based off historical events, so you've got to have some sort of, at least want to learn. Yeah, you want to learn, or interest in the combat and stuff. But yeah, I think
for me,
go on.
Sorry.
No, it's alright.
I was just saying, like, for me, one of the main reasons which pulled me towards it was that it was historical. It was based on, you know, a big event which happened in world history, obviously World War One.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'm quite big on military history, so I was thinking, you know, I'll give it a look, see what it's like, and I was shocked really on how well they did it.
Yeah.
I mean, for a console game, or just a console in general, there's not many historical games out. You know, you've got a few games which are based in historical era, but none which actually focus on it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what Verdun does really well. Like, even the name Verdun comes from the Battle of Verdun. Like, that was one of the most bloodiest battles of the war, and you know, they decided to make a game about it. I thought, that's brilliant.
It's interesting as well. I mean, I've been to where Ypres was, and Passchendaele, and the Somme, and when you've got like maps that you've been to, in, you know, you've been to these. I've been to these places in real life, and it's crazy to think how these things happen. In a game, you know, in a way, it helps with the game immersion as well. And it's a great thing. I mean, if you had to choose, what do you prefer? Who's your favourite regiment on the game, or faction?
Obviously, I've got Tommies. You know, British.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I'd say that they're my favourite faction. Not just because, you know, I'm British myself, obviously, and Jew.
But that is a big part of it.
Yeah, that's probably, I say 95% of it. But the other 5%, I would say, is because if you really go in depth with it, we were basically the first nation to declare war against Germany right after they, you know, attacked, you know,
Belgium,
France. We were literally the biggest power of that time. We were the biggest power in the whole world, and America was a rising power, but they weren't bigger than us.
No.
I mean, manpower, they have more men, but that's because they've got more land. They're able to get more men. But
you can't forget the we had the Commonwealth as well. I mean, the Canadians and the Indian troops, and
that's what made us the major player in that war. Because we had all these colonies which we could call up arms. So, you know, you had Sikhs, you had you even had Muslims, you had everyone come together under the British flag to fight against the Germans. And you know, in this game, it also shows you, like, you know, you're able to play as different factions of the Tommies.
Yeah.
Which I'm very happy with.
Well, they brought the Highlanders in, and they're a great faction to play as. Actually, they've got some interesting weapons. I think they've got some weird weapons. I think the Canadians are similar as well. The Canadians have got like a Lee Enfield rifle, but a sawn-off version.
Yeah.
And I think they come with. I think that's my favourite faction, other than the Tommies. I love the Canadians, just because I like the history of the Canadians as well in World War One. I think they're the most feared by German troops. The Canadians, they're the most feared soldiers. But
they were hard fighters during the war.
The game, that is definitely one of the game's best features. Coming back onto the main point, is that the factions and regiments are really good. Have you got a favourite German regiment?
Probably have to go with the Stormtroopers.
Yeah, people love them
because you know they're the main ones, but they're also quite elite.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Because I mean, given the time periods and how long Germany were given to prepare, like, you know, if you look at the history of Germany, they've never been the top dog, even before. I mean, they've only ever been the top dog, but under a different name.
They've always been really fucking split, haven't they, with different things, with different empires and
But like like I said, even before Germany, when they were known as Prussia, they were powerful as Prussia, but they weren't as powerful. If you know what I mean, like because you saw the French Empire, British Empire, the Austro-Hungarian, the Russians. They were all bigger than the Prussians, but come about the turn of the century during World War One, I mean, Germany was split still in a way because of all these past failures in war.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were able to get so many men and train so many elite eunuchs was quite extraordinary, really.
Yeah. So a bit of history in the podcast as well there. Thanks for that. It's all good. It's all very nice. Yeah. We've discussed the weapons, units. I'm going to ask something. I mean, have you played any other game mode than squad defense and the trenches on this game?
No, I haven't. No. I mean, I've only ever played front lines.
Well, I suppose the way the game is, it's understandable that you've only played front lines because no one seems to play any of the other game modes, do they? Which is slightly frustrating. Do you enjoy front lines then? Is that one of the games you really enjoy, or?
I do. Well, it's the only one which I've ever really tried because the other ones don't really interest me because they're not that as appealing as head front lines is.
Yeah.
Because with front lines, you get everything. You get the historical maps, you get the regiments, you get basically allies against the Axis.
Yeah.
You can just go head to head with them, right? And that's what draws people in, really. That's what makes the first-person shooter. Because if you have the main game modes, everyone's going to go to it and go have more fun on it.
Yeah, I think front lines. You hit the thing. It is, but front lines is everything a first-person shooter should be. It's intense. It's hard. It's head-to-head against other players from all over. Everyone's using different tactics. It's the perfect game mode to use different tactics.
Yeah, I mean, it's even like objective-based. Like, you have to take the trench.
Yeah,
that's all World War One was. They built trenches. When when the Allies did go for an attack, sometimes they would never win and they would never get it and they would lose hundreds of men just to try and take one trench. That's what it's like on Verdun. If you've only got a certain amount of time to attack the trench and to capture it, and if you don't get it, you then have to go back to your original trench, and they get to attack you. So that's what I like, because they've added in what it would have been like World War One.
But looking at the other side, I was just saying, looking at the other side of it, I can understand why people don't like the front lines game mode as well, because it's not for everyone. I think you have to have a certain level of sort of in-game resilience, if you like, because you do get fucking shot a lot. Unless you're playing as a sniper or a heavy gunner, if you're playing as a rifleman or a CO, you die a lot because you always have to run for the trench, and I think I'm fine with that happening. But it's also, I mean, again, if you just like your regular first-person shooters like COD or fucking Battlefield or something, I can understand why maybe front lines isn't always the best thing for you. But then again, they brought rifle deathmatch into the game, and they brought attrition into the game for people who prefer that more arcade feel. But because the game's so low numbers, no one can fucking play them. So, I mean, you might buy Verdun, and you might absolutely love rifle deathmatch, but you just won't have a chance to play it because no one's fucking on it, which is slightly disappointing. But it does bring me on to squad defence. Now, you must have played squad defence where you have waves of enemies coming at you. What do you think of that game mode?
Yeah, I mean, I've played it a few times with you because I remember, if I can remember right, that's one of the ways which you could only fix a certain glitch.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I've played that a few times, and that's all right, and I like that, but it's not as fun as Frontlines because it's only you and your mates against a bunch of AI. AI, they're only programmed to run at you and shoot at you. That's about it. There's no real sort of tactical sense to them.
No, I agree
rather
there.
than there is in front lines, because in front lines you're against other players. Granted, the other players may just be kids, but there could also be people like me and you who like tactical shooters, been playing for many years, and know how to, how to flank, how to throw smoke grenades.
That's the thing with like online compared to AI is they're unpredictable. Online players are unpredictable because there's such a different amount of people playing games, and there could be fucking noobs who just walk at you or try to play it like COD, or there could be real tactical snipers. You can't fucking see them and they're just pinging you off constantly. You don't, and I suppose that's the unpredictable. Oh, that's not the word. Sort of. I'm trying to think of the word. I don't know. You can't always guarantee what's going to happen in online games, and I think that's the fun of front lines. But I think, to be honest with you, squad defence could easily be improved if they do it right. I think you should be able to have more than 4. You should be able to have 4 squads in squad defence, not just a squad of 4 men. So you know what I mean, like one full team against loads of enemies. And I still think the wave thing would be better then, because then you'd have a whole line of Tommies or Canadians or Frenchmen or Germans or whatever against the wave of the enemy. And even if the AI, I'd still feel like it's more realistic, because at least you've got a full team, not just 4 players versus, I don't know, 50 fucking enemies running at you. But I mean, squad defence, I was talking to a guy the other day who was like, is the game any good, or is squad defence any good? I think he said something like that, and I said to him, it can get boring if you're playing by yourself, but it's a great way of practicing on the game, especially with different weapons, because every gun on this game seems to shoot differently. Some guns' iron sights are fucking horrible, and some are fantastic. I seem to think the Tommies have some of the best iron sights in the game. The Kar-98 happens to be, I think, one of the more accurate guns. Would you say maybe the Kar-98? Or
if you look at it, Sing 6 a World War I game, and it's the turn of the century. It's like 1914 or 1715, whatever. Like there was new technology coming about for guns. So previously, the grandfather of the machine guns was basically the Gatling gun. That but that was still technically one shot in a way. You're just rotating and it's coming out.
Yeah.
But since new advances came and the nation started making machine guns, everything became a lot more deadlier because they became more like accurate.
Yeah.
Same with the scopes that you mentioned, like scopes, a lot of them were horrendous, but it's only because they were new. Like previously, they never had any scopes, and it was, well, they did, but they weren't as accurate as they are now.
Well, through this game, you can see who's like, you can see the more modern factions, like the US factions. They always seem to have the more modern weapon. They've got the BAR, which was used in World War II as well, and they've got the scopes, for example, on the rifles they use seem to be much better than the French. I think the French ones is awful. I think it's like a fucking square thing. Maybe it's one of the Tommies actually. I'm not sure, but I see where you're coming from. Aye, definitely. We're going to probably go on to the final topic now. We've briefly mentioned updates and stuff, but the new Tannenberg update, it's not, the PS4 update what we're getting is Tannenberg and everything else. It's like one big fucking update that we're getting, or it's meant to be anyway, from what they've said on Steam. Do you think the update will help in general the whole game? Do you think more players will come on? Do you think the player basis will improve? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a 50-50 chance, really, you think about it, because the state the game's already in, you haven't got that many players. Before, like, it even tells you how many people are playing worldwide. Before, it would be in, like the millions. Now, it's in like, the few couple 100,000. So it's. Well,
do you mean the game on PC as well?
No. I mean, I'm on about a console version. I'm not sure what it is for PC, but I assume it's much more larger than console.
Do you mean? Are you talking about Verdun here? on console. There's about, I'd say there's a lot less than, there's maybe 1,000 people in a week. That's how low it is right now.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe a couple more.
It's not good, is it?
No. But go on. Sorry, go to your point. I was just go on.
It's basically, like I said, it's 50-50 chance. It could bring more players, and it might not. Like, if for the people who are already playing, they can see it and say, right, okay, this is their chance to make the game better.
Yeah.
But they might say, oh, do you know what? Since the current state in, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
But if you got new people who have seen it and who've never played Verdun before, or seen this new Tannenberg update, might say, oh, do you know what? I'll give that a look and I'll give it a go. Which could bring more people in.
There's definitely, I think there's two ways the devs can look at this. They either look at it as in they want to aim for new players and bring a new influx of players on the game, or they're going to solely just primarily focus on the players who are already on the game and just update the experience for them, because they're bringing in bots. I don't know if you've heard, but they're bringing in bots for front lines. That's going to be, it's meant to be one of the big things. I think that's a good idea, filling the gaps. But judging by that sort of mentality, I don't think they're planning on looking to get new players in the game. Maybe they're just sticking with what they've got and improving the experience, which I don't mind them doing that, truthfully. But I think it'd be even better if they, as I said before, going back to the advertisement, if they advertise it as a big fucking update and show off all the gameplay that they have, I think we'd have a lot of more new players in the game. I mean, we know a lot of people, me and you, who have played Verdun, who we play with, who bought the game. I mean, do you remember how much it was when it first came out? I can't remember. Is it £15? Maybe a bit more.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I'll say it was about £15.
Yeah, but it wasn't expensive. It wasn't AAA. So I mean, I never expected anything from it. But I remember that I loved the game at first, how it was, and I think having this sort of new update and really reviving the game and showing off gameplay and maybe really just trying to advertise it well could bring loads of new players back to the game and bring new ones. It's almost like COD. It's like when we look at COD and we say, if they bring it back to the old ways, it might bring back old players and then get new players as well. And I think that's sort of the similar style we need to go for in this game. Try and get the old players back on who have left, but then also get new ones as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're getting the best of both. Specifically, is there anything on the update you're looking forward to the most, like bots or improvement of maps and glitches and shit?
I would say the improvement of maps and glitches. That would be the main one, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the bots, and I like the idea, but it also shows that the devs have recognised that the game isn't what it once was at launch. Like,
yeah,
so they've had to,
they do know, don't they?
Yeah, so they know that the player bases went down majorly.
Yeah.
So they've had to add in bots just to make it fun for the players who are left. I mean, and it's not good. I don't think. I mean, I like the idea, but I don't think it's good that a games company should have to add in bots to an online game. Which
so you prefer the glitches and shit. You prefer the fixing that stuff.
Yeah, because if you think about it, there's a lot of glitches in that game.
No, there is.
You've done a lot of videos on how to get around them and how to fix them.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, just making the gameplay experience smoother is better. Is that like what I was saying before? Is I think fucking Verdun players have to have a certain level of resilience to even continue. I mean, some of the guys who are on the even me who loves this game, I can't play this game every night anymore because I get too pissed off with the sort of flaws with the game. I'll play it every now and then, but I can't play it every night anymore. It's just I've come to like blows with it. And but I do try to turn up for these events and stuff around work and stuff, but it's not always possible. But so glitches is your big thing. I'd probably still remain bots with me. I mean, don't get me wrong, actually, graphics, I'd love to see a really nice graphics update. And I think with the graphics, they're bringing in a sound update, so the sounds of the weapons and the pings of bullets around you you know, then whistles you get is really realistic
Yeah.
now. It's like real combat type stuff, so that's great. I'm happy about that. Specifically, I don't know if we know when the update's coming out. I'm gonna have to have a relook about, you know, have another look about that. And if I do, I'll definitely make a video on that. But George, thanks for joining, History Lad, on this podcast. You know, I appreciate you doing that. And I'll leave a link to George's channel below. Does like historical videos. He's actually got the video from the Passchendaele reenactment that we did that I couldn't upload on here because my fucking recording went bust. But I appreciate you watching. There might be other Verdun podcasts soon. We'll see if people enjoy this or not. Plenty of videos on the channel, and thanks for watching. Cheers.